let's listen to my man Bill Maher talk about the that dirty little secret that being severely overweight, being obese, could kill you.
I last mentioned it, a stunning statistic was reported. 78% of those hospitalized, ventilated, or dead from COVID have been overweight. It is the key piece of the puzzle, by far the most pertinent factor, but you dare not speak its name. Imagine how many lives could have been saved if there had been some national campaign a la Michelle Obama's Let's Move program, with the urgency of the pandemic behind it. If the media and the doctors had made a point to keep saying, but there's something you can do, but we'll never know because they never did. Because the last thing you want to do is say something insensitive. We would literally rather die. Instead,
now that's just so common sense, so clear. But here's the amazing thing: you're sitting there. He's a liberal. We know that he's a very liberal guy. You would never hear that on CNN or MSNBC. And if you did, they'd probably shout the guy down or say, you're gone. We're never going to have that guy back. But it's, again, key piece to the puzzle. And it's not new. I mean, he's talking about this is a new statistic, but we knew a year ago that obesity kills you. Every time you'd see a picture of somebody losing their life to COVID, if they were under 70, invariably they were big and they were obese, and we can't say them. It is amazing how people were reluctant to say it. Get to the gym. Stop calling Domino's, don't go to McDonald's, eat. Your life depends on it. It's amazing how the media in general, we're not honest with people, even though, as Bill Maher points out, it could have saved lives. It clearly did. It cost lives that people didn't care and stayed home, locked themselves away, didn't even want to take a walk because going outside might that boogeyman, that virus was waiting out there for them. And it is madness that we weren't saying what Maher said a year ago and every day since, that being severely overweight could kill you. Hell, it still could.
I want to give Maher credit, but he doesn't get in the mud. Like every time you tweet something, like you get ratioed and you're in the mud on Twitter. Like all these people on television, they just pick and choose when they want to say the cool shit or the right.
I think you're right, but the reason it resonates is because it's such common sense, and as he points out, the media is reluctant to do that. So, I mean, you hear obviously from someone like Tucker Carlson or Greg Gutfeld, you might hear something like that, but you so rarely hear it. The media people are fawning over Fauci every Sunday morning. They don't say that. They don't say, get the hell, push the pizza away, get to the gym, take a walk, get outside. I mean, when you look back at what they told us to do a year ago, I mean, you had no problem doing it, staying inside where you are most likely to get the virus. Don't go outside. And if you go outside, you can't go after 10 p.m. I mean, I can't believe we had a curfew in the city of Boston and a number of other places. We had a curfew because of a virus. What the freak? What were we thinking? What were they thinking? They've been wrong. Our leaders, the people who govern us, have been wrong about everything. And eventually we're all going to come to this agreement and say, we're not listening to them anymore. I mean, I know the third wave or the fourth wave is coming this summer, and we're waiting for Joe Biden to give us permission to celebrate 4th of July with family and friends. It's eventually, and I realize we're polarized, that half the people are on this side and half the people are with Biden, half are against him. But eventually everyone's going to say, enough. Shut up, Joe Biden. Shut up, Anthony Fauci. I'm going to a cookout. I'm going to, play tennis. Like that coach said, the coach from Coach Keys from New Hampshire, the guy who got fired because he wouldn't make his runners wear masks. He said, think about tennis, high school tennis, kids who aren't vulnerable anyway. Forget it. It's all theater, the masks. So you're making singles tennis players who aren't within 40 feet of another person wear a mask, and nobody stops and says, what sense does this make? What sense does it make to make a child wear a mask while playing tennis? they don't ask. They just say, do it. Joe Biden told me it saves lives. They told me it's patriotic. But just stop and ask, why are you putting a mask on to play singles tennis? First of all, why are you wearing a mask if you're a child when you know the virus isn't a problem for you? Secondly, what if no one's near you? I got a new rule, Colin, as I watch TV news. My new rule is if the reporter is wearing a mask, I change the channel. I'm not going to be party to this theater, especially, they're outside. I was watching last night, and there were all these reports about Boston and the marathon, or here's what would have been going, and they're all wearing the mask, and there's just a cameraman. There's not like people, and and here we are, and I'm going, what are you doing here? Take that off and do your report and put it back on. 2 minutes so you can enunciate and I can understand you, and then you can put it back on and pretend you're virtuous. Why are we all participating in this ridiculous theater? But hey, whatever. It's coming to a close, and even flip-flop Fauci's not going to be able to stop people from enjoying their summer. As you point out, people are traveling. They're hitting the road. They're flying. They're making plans. They're going to vacation spots. They didn't do that last year. The virus is still here, even though lots of people are vaccinated, but people are changing the way they look at it, changing the way they live their lives, which is a great thing.
Well, before you wrap it up, you said this on Twitter too. The fact that Bill Maher gave DeSantis, of all people,
that was amazing.
That was wild.
He gave, in the same breath, he gave DeSantis credit and ripped Cuomo, which is again, he used to be the voice of hard left liberals in America. You would never, ever hear that, certainly from CNN, the Cuomo network, but you wouldn't hear from MSNBC or NBC or CBS. Those people Washington Post, New York Times must be sitting there going, holy crap, we've lost Bill Maher. We've lost Bill Maher. He's got a live audience. He's got guests. He's not wearing a mask. He's praising Ron DeSantis, the biggest threat there is to Kamala Harris in 2024. And a guy who is just riding high because things have worked out great in Florida and not so great in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and Michigan. But that was one of those moments they call, the sister soldier moments, where you kind of sense that the tide is turning. And when Bill Maher is praising Ron DeSantis and ripping Killer Cuomo, that things are changing, and if you go outside today, tomorrow, in one of these blue lockdown states, you're going to feel the change. You're going to feel the momentum changing. You're going to say, holy crap, people are going to games. They're going to bars. They're going to restaurants. They're visiting friends who they haven't seen in a year. I do feel when I hear and see stories about grandparents seeing their grandkids for the first time in a year, I'm embarrassed for them. You haven't seen your grandkids in a year? Even with a mask, even outside, you haven't seen your grandkids. What the hell is wrong with you?
He doesn't mean that, Mom. He's not talking about you.
What the hell is wrong with people? You don't think it's worth the risk to go see your grandkids if you take some precautions, some reasonable precautions? You don't think it was worth the risk? I think back to my parents would have done, and if they told them, my parents, you're going to die, but you get to see your grandkids, my mother would have said, I'll take my chances. I'm going to see my grandkids.
Well, no, she was protected. They're protecting their grandkids. You don't understand that. By
protecting
not
them from what? Your kids are, what are your kids, 3 and 5?
No, well, my kids were fine. She watches my kids, but all the other grandkids, she was protected, though. That's the thought process. That's what Fauci put in her head. All right? Fauci won.
Right. I'm going to do the quick update. Just here we are. We'll do it every, this is this is Patriots Day. This is Chauvin Day in America. Big day, big day. Death rate, number 1, New Jersey. Number 2, New York. Number 3, Massachusetts. Number 4, Rhode Island. All hot, very blue, very lockdown states. That's your top 4 states in death rate, which is, once again, all that matters. Number 28 on the list, Florida. 28 in death rate. Florida, which has never locked down, essentially. Restaurants have been open, bars, gyms, they've lived their lives. Number 23 is Texas. Those are the examples that we should all be looking at, and people should be saying. I do wonder, it's been a year. At what point do they say lockdowns don't work? 2 years, 3 years? At what point do people like Charlie Baker, Gretchen Whitmer, these tyrants, what point do they say, okay, DeSantis was right. Abbott was right. We were wrong. Our bad. Our bad. My answer to that, my guess to that is never, ever, ever. But check out the whole Bill Maher monologue on COVID panic
Well,
porn
3 million
peddled by the
people
media.
did. 3 million, to your point, people, you don't need HBO anymore because people went to YouTube, which they can do with our show as well, CallahanPodcast.com. We are live streaming on YouTube every day.